prior to joining Washington Group International, you spent time back in the consulting sectors. What were some of your milestone achievements during that brief time period?
Yeah, I went back to Barry Dolbear after Anglo-Andean and was made Vice President of Corporate Development. But, you know, here's where I think I peaked in the business because armed with a successful resume of operations, engineering, marketing, and I had numerous contacts. The brief tenure I had at Barry Dolbear were successfully winning a series of high-profile jobs in an amazingly short time. Projects included consulting, audits, and due diligence projects for Placer Dome, Las Cristina, Minera Alhambra, Bajo de la Alhambra project in Argentina, ore reserve audits for Fort Knox, AMEX Gold's project in Alaska. We worked with the Nigerian company, Country Energy and Mineral Resources for a mineral inventory evaluation for future reference. Rather amazingly, we worked through some connections in Europe. We won the Ethiopia Legadembe gold mine feasibility study. Got audits for annual audits for Nevada Gold's Nevada operations and other world-class projects. You know, I thought, yeah, this is pretty cool.
A 14-year tenure at the Washington Group International represented your longest tenure with a company. Can you talk about your positions and your responsibilities?
Great. I love my time with Washington. I was hired as a marketing specialist focused on business development for Morrison Knudsen, which was sold to Dennis Washington in 1998 to become Washington Group International. As a large EPCM group, I was assigned to the mining divisions focused on contract mining. As a mega company, there was great diversity in personnel and operations support, and thereby allowed me to focus solely on business development-related activities. Early years were spent learning the roles and politics of the department and company. Sales success was really a result of understanding the client needs, sales presentation preparation, collaboration with client, aggressive proposal pricing, and market intelligence on competitors' pricing strategies. I'm really not quoting from a textbook. I mean, these are things that, you know, you kind of pick up with your peer group. Basically, we had strong and flexible contract negotiations, and I initiated execution working in concert with the technical teams. Management delegated sales responsibilities, but retained executive committee reviews. With these directives, I found the position challenging, interesting, and to continue for a long period.
So another important chapter of your life is how you've been associated with professional organizations. Tell me how and why you chose to become involved in these groups.
First of all, it's a natural relationship for career progression. AIME and then SME was a natural extension for professional development. As in everything else, participation contributes to professional knowledge and business contacts. Each professional group has both attributes and limitations. Principal organizations during my career included SME, Northwest Mining Association, Colorado Mining Association, and the Denver Group, Gold Group. In each organization, I rose to top leadership roles that diversified and broadened that organization's reach into the mining industry, as well as advancing its inherent organization strengths. Each organization further advanced my leadership skills and enhanced my contact networks. My progression in professional life was sustained with lessons learned as a member and chief executive in these organizations.
Okay, so now it's your time to show off. What is or was your involvement in these societies?
Yeah, basically SME, I was in virtually every position, including Vice President of Finance and President, and I became AIME Board of Trustees and Treasurer most recently. Northwest Mining Association, started as a membership chairman, served on the Board of Trustees, and punched into the Vice President and President. At Colorado Mining Association, chairman of their National Western Mining Conference, and became chairman of the board in 1995-96. Denver Gold Group, I am a lifetime Founders Circle, was served on the board of directors for 22 years, and I was president in 1990 and 93 in the formative years. Also worked in the World Mining Congress, and I'm the U.S. representative with Mike Karmas in the International Organizing Committee.
You must have more plaques than anybody in the business.
Yeah, well, you'll see it in the pictures.
You served as SME's president in 2001, 2002. Tell me what it's like to be president and what you learned along the way.
Yeah, I guess, that was a pretty busy year. I was elected in 2000, which gave me 2 years to think of my goals and activities. I continued the tradition in attending the Lima Section holiday party in November 2000. Instead of just going there and talking about how great SME is, they already knew that. I asked the SME staff to search the database and give me their 12 oldest section members. And then I asked them to come up with an honors certificate to present at their holiday meeting. I always thought, again, when an SME president attends an international function, he or she be active in the program and not passive and being just a figurehead, And, this is action. Len Harris told me later on that 10 years later, that certificate that I presented them are still on everybody's walls. And they were in English. And it was kind of a neat thing to do. In January 2001, the year I was assuming the presidency in the annual meeting in February, I called a meeting of the SME Executive Committee. And the reason I did that was because in the traditional cycle of things, the SME president is president-elect and, does certain things. But in February, when the meeting occurs and he or she, basically the year's over for them. They can't really do anything. They react to membership and this and that. But if we did that a month ahead of the meeting, and since I worked at SME, I knew all the committees, and I basically outlined goals and objectives for everybody. And then the buy-in with the executive committee. So when they came to the annual meeting, each one of those committees had a mission or an expectation. And we got through the meeting, and we left with it, not with what we were going to do by the mid-year meeting, but a program to work for. So we did that. February, SME meeting happened, board of directors meetings. The goals and expectations were all written down and had buy-in from the executive committee. My focus was going to be on SME globalization and was supported by an international travel plan. First thing we did was we went to Canberra, all these names, with Len Harris, chairman of the International Committee, and we met with the AIME leadership to reaffirm our reciprocal meeting registration policies as booked sales, preferred prices, and we gathered data for establishing the qualified persons membership class in the U.S. They gave us everything freely, and it was really great, and that was handed over to the next generation that subsequently got this PE approved. After the Canberra trip, I continued on to Manila to commemorate the 62nd anniversary of the Philippines section. Apparently, the last time they got a visit from somebody in the States was in 1980 when I did the trade mission. I presented awards to the 12 most senior section members, and they all came up and we took a picture, and it was really great. I remember the chairman of the Philippines section who introduced me. He said, and all these Filipinos were in there. He said, you know, we've been following Mr. Lee's progression, and for a man that looks like him, I guess he was meaning Asian, he said to reach the top level job in an organization like SME is the most remarkable event. And he says, and personally, I consider him my idol. Wow, I better say something good. And I remember the paper I gave was because of your generosity in sharing your information, Doug Silver, on developing priorities for lesser developed countries. That's what we called them then. And, you know, everybody gained, was good on that. Moving on, the rest of the year I traveled to Arequipa, Peru, to attend that Peruvian mining show. And instead of just going there and taking pictures at SME booth or the Peruvian booth, I had a crystal presentation presented by the Society for Mining. And Len Harris said, you're going to give us an award, so when are you going to do that? I said, well, I'm not going to your booth to take a picture. You're not coming to my booth to take a picture. I want to present it to you at your largest assembly around. And so they said, okay, if you put it that way, we'll have a front seat for you and your wife, and you can come up and present the award before their regular agenda came. Well, I said, well, we need a seat for Len Harris and his wife. He says, why do we need that? And I said, because Len Harris is chairman of the International Committee. That's the only reason I'm here. All right, we'll give you that. And then I said, well, we need one more seat for Paul Scheidegg, the executive director. Why do we need that? He's the chief operating officer. You would be insulting him. And they said, all right, you have 6 seats. And then he said, rather amazingly to me, I said, look, my speech will be very short. You want to make a speech? What do you want to make a speech for? So he said, okay, please make it brief. I said, I'm the American here. I said, I'm going to tell them what a great meeting you have. Why wouldn't you want me to say that in front of your biggest audience? They said, all right, go ahead. Please don't make it too long. So anyway, the meeting started. We came up there. You know, we presented the recognition statue to him. And the president of Peru, Alejandro Toledo, was up there. And he was sitting, you know, he was going to make a speech a little later on. And instead of coming off the podium, I went back to the podium. Seems like I had an extra SME lapel pin. And so I went back to the podium and I said, and now I'd like to present to the constitutional president of Peru, the Honorable Alejandro Toledo, and I'd like to give him a small token of SME's esteem for him, and we're going to give you the SME lapel pin of distinction. Toledo said, well, thank you, Dr. Lee. Anyway, we finally got out of there, but it was a great story for being at Perumin, and I remember the guy at Newmont, who was the Latin American guy, he said, you know, I came to that closing session early, and I'm listening to English. They never speak English at that. And I see you there. He says, and I saw you shake hands with the president of our country. And he says, if anything, a president should be doing what you did. And so that's what happened. There's a sidebar at the end. Yeah. Len Harris, after Toledo left with his contingency, Len Harris and I were there, and the press, you know, well, who's next? You know, well, let's interview the great American. So Len Harris is there, and he says, they want to ask you some questions. And the first question they asked through the translator, he says, well, you've been to many international meetings. He says, how do you think we should improve this meeting to make it meet the standards of what you want to do, that you're used to with all the international meetings? And I said to Len, I said, well, translate this. Tell them you asked the wrong question. And they said, well, I'm sorry, what should have we asked? And I said, the real question is, how should the world improve their standards to meet the excellence you've done here at this meeting? And Len Harris's mouth was open. He says, where did we get this stuff? And I said, it's marketing and sales. Also during that year, I traveled to Caracas, Venezuela. I met with CAMIVEN, their mining trade organization like our National Mining Association, and reestablished our technical cooperation agreements and gave each other tokens of our societies. I also met with the Venezuelan student chapter, affirmed student membership, and programs for professional growth. Convened the SME mid-year board meeting from airport hotels to Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Record attendance with their families reinforced bonding and professional networking among SME leadership. Participated in the AIME Board of Trustees meeting held in Williamsburg, Virginia that year. We also hosted the SME Young Leaders, then there were only 4, to brainstorm and present future direction of SME. Later on that year, at the invitation of the China Coal Society, traveled to Beijing to successfully negotiate and finalize a technical cooperation agreement between SME and Chinese mining groups. SME hosted an estimated 12 groups to the U.S. Met with members of the China Non-Ferrous Metals Group, China Gold Group, and the CN Mining Research. Completed the year with the early executive committee meeting by 2002 and President Mike Karmas, and handed over to the next generation at the Phoenix meeting in 2002.
You're known to be an expert in marketing. This fanfare really works, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Had a great time. Well, it was enjoyable carrying the flag for SME, and, I behaved with decorum and professional integrity.
But it impacts the recipients too, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to see somebody come in and, receive awards from the motherland. Len Harris said, he wished more of the people would do that kind of stuff and, make up an award, the fact that we're the Americans and a leading mining and technical means all the world to people in other countries, although globalization is shrinking. But, it was a good thing to do in the Philippines, too.
So is it true that your first executive act was to make the plaques bigger?
They did that in the Northwest Mining Association. Well, I said, well, how much does it cost to make a big plaque versus a little plaque? And they were pretty close. And so I said, well, then you need to shower awards.
Yeah.
And make them look like awards, not attendance things, even though they may be attendance things. Well, I won the Northwest Mining Association Starter Award, which was a Kennecott Steel, blah, blah, blah. But, I was surprised. And later on, you'll see that's one of the awards I was really surprised I got. It was unexpected.
How do you see the technical societies benefiting people in the industry today?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of factors: awareness of new topics, visualization, digitalization by computer methods, artificial intelligence, benchmarking, and improved productivity. Continuing education and training courses for industry professionals are a mainstay that benefits people. Competitive awareness, technology and innovation, and opening new paths for professional growth, horizontal and vertical advancement. Technical societies really can focus on safety management improvements and forums for discussion of ESG trends.
How did this societal membership benefit you in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it did everything. It made me rise to the executive level of leadership within organizations, which facilitated contacts at the highest level in the mining industry. It helped understanding organizations and their inherent policies, resulting in lessons learned in the private sector. It was social networking in the pre-internet days, and improved my public speaking, and just all around benefits anybody who joins a professional society.
When were you happiest in your career? You've done many different sectors. What was your happiest times?
Yeah, I was probably winning proposals as a consultant, together with the proposal team, doing the strategy, the research, proposal presentations, and when you win, you're very ecstatic. Closing the deal was usually the better deals were done because of long-term business development and client relationship management. Other happy times were completing our special issues, time to rest and plan for the next big thing. And when I mentored young professionals who were influenced by my experience, that was very gratifying. And when I collaborated with others.
So Ta, on the flip side, when did you struggle the most in your career?
Yeah, well, when I started working for the Washington Group in '97, my average job duration was 3 years. So I committed myself that I would stay here at least 5 years at Washington Group. Initially, it was a big struggle, to say the least. I overcame this by being non-confrontational. And it worked, because then I could focus on my career agenda while kowtowing to my immediate superiors. In the end, I stayed at Washington for 14 years, contributing to record sales and advancement in my professional organizations.
Do you recall any significant experiences working with colleagues that you can share?
Yeah, there are a lot, but I'll try to do a couple here. Although I didn't recognize it at the time, working for SME Executive Director Claude Crowley greatly impacted me throughout my career. His greatest tenet was, everybody is working on their own problem. If it looks like they're helping you, you need to re-examine what their motives may be. Many of my peer professionals thanked me for this perspective, as it made their progression a much smoother experience. Another deal in marketing and relationship building was the South African minerals attaché Barry Hornibrook in New York. Really liked our company's shaft sinking technology, and every time he brought a group over from South Africa, we would give them the VIP treatment at our coal mine in Alabama. So after all his gratitude, he asked me before Mine Expo in 1982, that the Minister of Mines of South Africa wants to thank you for all this site visit accommodation and invite you to dinner during Mine Expo. And I said, well, really, there's a protocol here. I can't really go with the minister when my president should be the one, And he said, well, the minister is not asking him to go. He's asking you. And I said, yeah, but how would it look? I'm going with him. And, he's, in his regular BD effort. Barry put it at the end, and he said, do you want to go or you don't want to go? I said, all right. I said, I'll go because I want to go, right? But would you do me a favor and invite the minister to dinner on behalf of Thyssen Mining and, have dinner with him the night before, And he says, I'll ask, but that doesn't happen. And so he passed on the invitation, and he accepted. Came in, we went to the Hilton with the president. I was non-existent. The directors of Thyssen in Germany came and couldn't believe they were having dinner with the Minister of Mines. After the show, they drank in the Thyssen Hospitality Suite till 4 in the morning and furthered a tremendous relationship based on this meeting. Well, ironically or surprisingly, the Minister of Mines at that time was none other than Frederick de Klerk, who was the president of South Africa. So it's a memory that'll stay with me all the time. The other experience I mentioned earlier was with you, Doug, in doing the reverse takeover and becoming a VSE company within 3 or 4 months, I believe, at this time. Another great experience was with Rick Tinsley on deep ocean mining, which I talked about earlier. Another great significant experience, which was the largest job we ever won, was with Rick Lambert at Washington Group on contract mining for the San Cristobal operation in Bolivia. That was a business development relationship for over 7 years, and we finally closed the deal in 2003. And finally, we hired a marketing specialist in mining, Lee Recca. She had the big company Bechtel floor type of experience, and we wrote these amazing proposals working together. And network and surrounding yourself with good people.
You've done a lot of big things in your life. What were some of the awards that you achieved in doing this career?
Well, in the business sense, at Washington Group and their mining division, we actually won 4 different contract mining jobs from 2003 to 2006, totaling $350 million. I'm very proud of leading these efforts and was recognized alongside with the proposal team members with 4 consecutive Lions Excellence Awards by the company. That was a Metallica Resources, Apex Silver Mines, Glamis Gold stripping work in Nevada, and Arch Coal topsoil removal in the Powder River Basin. One of the other great things was being awarded Honorary Life Member for the Colorado and the New York sections awards.
And are there any awards that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, funny, they're all AIME based. In 1991, I actually won this SME Distinguished Member, which now I guess it's called the Fellow, SME Fellow. And I'm really proud of the AIME Honorary Membership. And recently I received the William Lawrence Saunders Award.
So of the many awards you won, were there any that were totally unexpected?
Yeah, early in my career in 1982, I was notified I was designated a Kentucky Colonel, nominated by a peer group of mining professionals. 1987, the Starters Award, which I mentioned earlier. The other one that was really unexpected was the Elko Convention and Visitors Authority for organizing and chairing the Intermountain Mining and Processing Operators Conference, which was co-sponsored with Northwest Nevada and Utah Mining Associations in 1989. The highlight of that meeting was we had a president's forum with CEOs from Newmont, Barrick, Freeport, Pegasus Gold, and Kennecott Copper on a Saturday morning in Elko, Nevada. I mean, it was truly remarkable. There was over 1,000 people at that session in the Elko Convention. There, again, as I mentioned previously, SME Fellow. We won the best exhibit and booth at the CIM annual meeting in Edmonton and Toronto. Another surprise was the St. Barbara's Day statue given by the Denver Gold Group, Colorado, and SME. The SME New York section honorary member was not given just to me, but to my spouse. And it was the first time I've ever heard of somebody doing that. I was very proud of my wife and myself at that thing. And then this year, when the president of AIME gave me the president's citation, which was a total surprise,
No doubt your wife, too, got the award because she knows more people in the mining business than you do.
Yeah, they tend to remember her more for some reason.
you know, you've worked in all these different areas in the mining. Why didn't you ever pursue a PE license?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of weird. It may sound like I'm just skirting the issue, but PE licenses exist to protect the public and certify minimum technology knowledge in one specialty. While working on them at Mining Minerals National PE exam, I had access to actual exams administered by NCEE. And again, after the Working Party 79 was finished, the NCEE asked for my state and registration number. I mentioned that I was an SME staff member and wasn't registered. And because I had these accesses, NCEE made a ruling that I was not eligible to register for a 10-year period. So after 10 years, you know, and working in marketing sales, I didn't lose interest. But anyway.
You've served as a senior executive in many different types of companies. What are some of the major tenets that you live by? Again,
and most important, is to remember everybody is working their own problem first. If it seems like they're working on your problem, sit back and consider what's the motive and what's the real problem. You'll get a lot more accomplished by following that tenet. Again, the rest, hire good people, industry standards, set the bar, always have a plan, including agendas or schedule milestones. Keep people informed on what's going on. Be good. Be open to good and better ideas from young marketing people. A great example of that is in 2016, the last Mine Expo. I asked our marketing department, here we're competing with Caterpillar, all the big companies that exhibit there. With a limited budget, how do we make the same impact with a far less budget? And what would you do? And these young people were absolutely amazing. They came back to me a week later and they said, you identify your 10 best prospects. And basically, everybody comes in, they know the cycle. Everybody comes in Saturday, goofs off Sunday, and goes to the show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He says, take those people on a helicopter ride and basically pick them up on Sunday morning, have one sales representative per helicopter, and you would fly to the Hoover Dam on the way. And when you got there, start saying, well, your company was involved in this and did that. They'll land at the bottom, have lunch, and then take them back another way, sites, and tell me they won't be talking about that helicopter trip to everybody they meet. And, you know, my mouth was open, my eyes were open. I said, you did it. I said, that's an amazing program. And anyway, we went up higher, and again, some of my frustrations in life, it was rejected because they didn't think it would be effective. And they weren't marketing guys, so, you know, you grin and bear it.
So as you know, today there's a great deal of talk about diversity in the working population. And you, of course, have had the opportunity to spend a life dealing with that. What's been your experience with diversity in the mining industry?
Well, early on, I thought being an Asian American would be a disadvantage. But that's only if I went into traditional fields, engineering, science, those kind of things. Being in the marketing sales aspect, there aren't any Asians in that. And basically, it was actually an advantage. And people would remember me longer than other people that were there. So that was an advantage. Diversity, when I showed up at Kennecott, I found myself in the drill and blast department, and it turns out that the drill and blast was the worst job in open pit mining. Modern rotary drills came, and all of a sudden it became from the worst job to the best job because they're in climate conditioned cabs, and they had this seniority, so nobody could bump them off it, and so there was how diversity benefits the diverse people. Most of my jobs were in non-traditional Asian roles, as I said before, and the people that I visited, had no preconceived stereotype of me when I showed up in the door. In fact, they wondered, what the hell was I doing here? So I think that was an advantage. Women in mining was long overdue. It's great to see women taking prominent roles in our business, and we're really the better for it. Will we be even better,
Let's just back up a little bit. When did you first learn about AIME?
Again, during high school, careers in mining brochure from AIME gave me a list of schools and provided significant background information on the fields, which I used to my advantage in college interviews. Upon entry into my first year at Columbia, I immediately joined as a student member and had access to the New York section meetings where a lot of mining companies came, and in those years they had the AIME meeting in New York City every other year. So we got to go to a lot of them and meet a lot of people, and because the drinking age was 18, we drank a lot too. So 50 or so years later, I'm proud to be a member of AIME, which is celebrating their 150th anniversary this year.
You have probably been to more conferences than anybody I've ever met. So can you share your views or your opinions about what you see or have learned about presentations and execution and opportunities to network?
Yeah, all the meetings that I attend are actually very different and are usually cold environments for attendees, especially young engineers. Equipment trade shows and exhibits are wonderful events with manufacturers introducing and displaying their wares. Other conferences are organized for specific audiences, and rather amazingly, there's little crossover between them, except for the marketing and sales personnel, SME versus NMA, Northwest Mining, a National Mining Association. After years of participation in great cross-sections of meetings, I've always focused on the networking aspect. My advice to all young engineers that go to these meetings is move around as much as you can and collect business cards and then move on to the next person. Understand that they didn't come to the meeting to see you, but when you follow up, they'll be very open and very receptive to you and business discussions. That's what I found throughout my career. Technical presentations at these meetings are important, and early in my career, I learned that you can always read the paper at another time, unless the subject is of considerable interest where you need further discussion. Going to technical presentations, in my opinion, as a sales marketing wasn't the best use of my time. Focusing on networking and relationship building is re-emphasized when you consider how much it would cost if you visited each contact individually.
So if you were to recommend SME to a new graduate, what would you tell him or her about?
I guess, first of all, it's your principal professional organization for the mineral industries. As such, you get out of it what you put in. Don't rely on your company to send you at their expense to all professional meetings. Show some initiative. And what did you spend on on your own professional development with your own funds. Significant opportunities are then open to meet and expand the contact network. And you never know who you'll meet and how it may affect your career path. Example, 1972, met the editor of Engineering Mining Journal, and all of a sudden I was a publications guy. Listen to and read technical papers in professional journals. You can improve your public speaking and management skills by attendance and participation. And ultimately, what I did was organize conferences and learn how to run meetings. Great skill.
So what do you think we can do to attract young people to this business?
Yeah, I guess that's ever since I got out of college, it's the same old question. I think first you have to make yourself a personal commitment to market and sell our industry from our own experiences and why we love the mining business. Efforts should be coordinated with local sections to visit high schools speaking about careers in mining. While many young people typically have no idea of what comes from minerals, your own experience is the best testament to a career in mining. Get career brochures to support your effort, but it never substitutes for actual experience. And finally, I volunteer with local and regional colleges and mining schools for career enlightenment and participate in their alumni interview process. After my first job, I went to about 10 high schools in Salt Lake area, and then if they applied to Columbia, I helped with the entrance interviews.
Looking into the future, where do you see the mining industry 20 years from now?
Yeah, that's, you've opened everything up for me. There will be even fewer people to do scale-up production units. There will be greater diversity in the management and operation of mines. There will be more accurate reliability in mill automation. The other big thing that is underreported is the application and utilization of big data models. We'll see electric battery applications to lower global warming impact and ESG management as a means for social compatibility with local communities.
You and I have had a lot of discussions about this, but are there any misconceptions that you repeatedly see about the industry that you would like to see changed?
Yeah, I guess to the general public, mining is essentially a smokestack business that contributes to global warming and adverse environmental impacts. Our businesses have really come a long way to mitigate pollution. Another misconception is industry always says we're talking to ourselves. Well, in actuality, we're not really talking to ourselves, and we need to change that. And the tendency to pass on to others to recruit for this industry.
How would you rate your work-life balance during your career?
Well, you have to first understand that 50 years ago, work-life balance was not a significant consideration. Initially work is the center of the universe. Being a workaholic was part of the early career, and family was next. I didn't spend a lot of time with my family, especially in the early consulting years. Worked around the clock, juggling between office and my society commitments. Amazingly, didn't go on vacation either. Always took time at meetings and took extended vacations with my family. As my son left for college, I wondered if I should have spent more time with him. After learning to delegate responsibilities, that improves the balance. After Washington Group, I learned that the quality of life was much better with a balance between family and work. Amazingly, work productivity also improved. As a result, I'm working smarter and becoming better.
But at the time you were starting a career, the long hours were required to get yourself established, right?
Yeah, but working smarter, maybe I could have done the same thing. You know, if you're born with it, you'll always have it.
How did you develop such a passion and drive for working in the mining industry?
Yeah, a lot of factors which I've previously mentioned. The AIME careers brochure ignited my interest. My summer jobs in the zinc mine and were experiences that made me want to do more. The crappy salaries were at the time were buffered with or met with, you got to love it to mine it, and certainly you don't go into mining for the money, at least early in your career. The Romance of Mining was an early publication by T.S. Rickard, who is an executive director, I believe, of AIME, or SME at least, strongly reinforced the passion. And again, mining is the only business where you start at the top and work your way down. It was a colorful expression that powered a drive for excellence.
What attributes of yours do you think contributed the most to your success?
I believe it was procuring and sustaining large contact networks at all levels of people. Goes hand in hand with hard work. The hard work, learned from my mentors that good things happen to people who work hard. Doing this also translates into being luckier. Plan right, communications well. Again, surround myself with good people, and always have a sense of urgency in everything you do.
When we look back at our long careers, we've done a lot of things, and the question is, if you had to shortlist, what career accomplishments are you most proud of?
Yeah, not necessarily in the order of importance, but I thought my role in co-founding the Denver Gold Group with you and others, and that it became a leading precious metals forum in the global marketplace. I also am proud of returning the Northwest Mining Association, now American Exploration and Mining Association, back to prominence as a premier mining organization. I thought my time at publications reestablished mining engineering as a leading publication with in-house feature articles and editorial excellence in the minerals workspace. Became a worthy competitor to the other trade journals because we had the expertise in-house to report on trends and operations. I thought at SME, working on that working party and getting mining minerals engineering on the national exam, which facilitated reciprocity of PEs in over 22 states, was an achievement. Sustaining SME's global market position with cooperation agreements with China, Venezuela, Australia, and the Philippines was a good achievement. And finally, restoring Washington Group's leadership in the contract mining business by contributing over $350 million backlog after the company went through a Chapter 11 bankruptcy environment.
Well, thank you very much, Toph, for sharing your life with us. And as we close, the final question is, the floor is yours. Would there be anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I guess choosing a career in the minerals industry has given me opportunities to travel, participate in professional organizations, and contribute to the success of the many mining groups. Also, I received my share of industry recognition from my peer groups. Many of the diverse turns in career operations, engineering, editorial publications, happened because of the many contacts made in the business through trade shows and other professional society gatherings. Doug, thank you for taking the time to do this interview, and I appreciate the opportunity from AIME to reflect on my career, and it's really been a most satisfying career.